Hey guys, it's Rick, and a lot of you guys that watch my videos obviously know that when I watch Formula 1, what I want to see is cars that go super quick and maybe even some interesting race moments like this.
The pits he comes. Very difficult as a driver, you know, to judge. We had a quick glimpse of it from Verstappen. Oh, and fuel. That's the first time we've had a fuel splash.
But essentially what I'm trying to say is that us Formula 1 fans, when we watch the sport, what we want to see is our favorite team or driver do well in a race. Except if you're like a Haas, Sauber, or RB fan though, you guys are already pretty much accustomed to losing and getting shitty race results, especially with Valtteri Bottas getting a 50-second pit stop and Daniel Ricciardo spinning his hopes and dreams away from a Red Bull seat. So the last thing us Formula 1 fans want to see is 1, cars going unbearably slow, and 2, our favorite team not being able to compete. And unfortunately, Alpine fans got both of those things shoved right up their bumhole, as Alpine did the biggest thing ever, as in the biggest fall from grace in Formula 1 history, with a car that's slower than my lawnmower and a dysfunctional team where their drivers look like they just got through a divorce.
Yeah, we know, Fernando. We can't do anything apart from give it everything, maximum pace.
What a joke!
To say that Alpine has dropped the ball here is a severe understatement. Now, they did drop the ball, but that ball fell down the Grand Canyon and landed in the slums, or in other words, P19 and P20. So that is pretty much Alpine's situation right now, and if you guys still need a better explanation, this clip is by far the most helpful. Okay, so now back to the flaming. Alpine has baguetted themselves to the back of the grid. Thank you so much, Rick. I honestly could not have worded that any better. But of course, a lot of you F1 fans and Alpine fans especially, even if there's only like, what, 10 of you guys left, you all want to know, how the hell did we end up here? And that's why today I'll be talking about how Alpine fell from grace, but in order for us to begin, we first have to take a look at its former glory.
And Alonso just steamed on the racing line. Total bravery, total confidence.
Alonso's going around the outside of it. This is the first time these two have taken each other on all season. It's back-to-back wins, Singapore and Japan, for Fernando Alonso. And Fernando Alonso, number 7 victory of the season.
Now, of course, some of you guys might be thinking, how could Alpine have the biggest fall from grace? I mean, they were already reenacting the French Civil War in 2023, and now in 2024, they're even more garbage with a car that could be switched for a Honda Civic and no one would be able to tell the difference. So why would I say Alpine has fallen from grace when they didn't have any grace to begin with, right? Well, no. The thing is, for you newborn baby F1 fans that don't know what the hell happened in the sport before 2020, Alpine was formerly known as Renault. But basically, before Alpine, Renault had their glory days, which was in the years of 2005 and 2006, where Fernando Alonso won them 2 titles, which labeled them as a competitive force to be reckoned with. Those glory days continued where Renault won many more races, even if, you know, one of them was probably the most controversial wins in Formula 1 history. Renault also had other low moments like Nico Hülkenberg getting flipped like a pancake, and that one race where Romain Grosjean decided to cosplay as a torpedo. Still though, Renault back in the day was a competitive force that everybody took seriously. But then fast forward to 2024, Renault is known as Alpine now, or in other words, the French disgrace. This is the Renault R25 that allowed Fernando Alonso to snatch his 2 world championships, and this is this year's Alpine A524. Notice how the car looks a little off. Now, of course, how did we get here? Well, as we dive into it, it all stems from this. Alpine's team management is so bad to the point where I think they could just put one dude in the garage and have him do everything from strategy, pit stops to weather forecasting, and I swear to God, the team will still end up in the same place anyway, which is the back of the grid. And worst case scenario, because there's only one guy in the garage, then maybe the cars won't start anyway, which results in a double DNF. Which is still no different because that's pretty much what happened to Alpine in 2023.
Has the inside line, Max Verstappen has the lead of the Grand Prix as he runs Lewis Hamilton wide, and what a
move to the inside.
But essentially one of the biggest problems in Alpine that led to their eventual fall from grace is the fact that their team management is absolute donkey. Recently, Alpine shocked all of their fans again as they just fired a lot of their employees. They just removed a ton of people all at once, which is insane. I mean, the last time that happened was in like, what, 1945? But that pretty much shows us that the team has had problems that were supposed to be solved a long time ago. Like, you don't just fire that many people all at once.
That result third was unexpected today, but the job did a fantastic, guys. The guys did a fantastic job. Sorry, it's the emotion.
And speaking about team management, we also have the case of their former team principal, Otmar Sneezefauer. What the fuck? You know what? Otmar Schwarzenegger. Alright, I'm just gonna go with that. So Otmar Schwarzenegger over here was where Alpine truly screwed up. They fired him halfway into the 2023 season for underperforming. Like, damn, amazing move, Alpine. Firing your team principal for shit results that your drivers caused because they're like a divorced couple forced to live together. Now, I don't know how good Otmar is as a team principal. Maybe he might have caused Alpine's downfall, but I will give him credit for trying to keep the team afloat. However, there is this one clip that I just cannot give Otmar any credit for.
I think I have a reputation of an easygoing attitude, but I'm still a fierce competitor.
Alright, so respectfully, Otmar, maybe you might have been a good team principal, but there is no way in hell you are going to be able to convince me that you are a ruthless competitor, straight up sounding like an old teddy bear and posting dad selfies on your Instagram. Like, there is no way someone is gonna look at this photo and think, oh, he's definitely a ruthless competitor for the Alpine Formula 1 team. Like, hell no, Otmar. What people actually think when they see your posts is either gonna be, oh, I bet he's having barbecue at his house, or please don't lock me in your basement. Overall, Alpine's team management is a mess. They fired their team principal halfway into a season, which just shows that if they had to do that, just imagine what other problems are happening within the team. It's a tough thing to sort out and has led to every sector of the team not being able to perform properly.
Hello everyone. This time I don't know what I'm doing, but let's see what happens.
Speaking about sectors, another area Alpine screwed up in is in their drivers, one of them being Fernando Alonso. Fernando drove for Alpine in 2021 and 2022, and he was an absolute unit. Like, this man consistently gave them great race results, even when Lance Stroll defended like an absolute dumbass, flinging Fernando into the sky, but he still managed to finish P7. Now, after 2 tough years at Alpine, Fernando made the decision to leave for Aston Martin, which was relatively a pretty easy decision to make.
Be emotional tomorrow. Last race with Alpine. I will miss being with them, but yeah, hopefully we can have a good competition.
He said he was happy to go.
I'm happy to go.
Now, after this announcement, Otmar Schwarzenegger decided to question Fernando's loyalty to Alpine after he chose Aston Martin, as Alpine finished P4 in the 2022 Constructors and Aston Martin was a backmarker.
It was difficult for me to understand the lack of loyalty to Alpine. What he would really focus on was the fact that we're the 4th fastest team.
Now, Otmar, I think this is why Alpine fired you, because you see, your team might have finished 4th in the championship that year, but you completely forgot the part where you paired Fernando with a literal serial killer, aka Esteban Ocon, for 2 years. Anybody with a functioning brain would want to leave if they had Esteban as a teammate, not because they're scared of losing out to him, but because they don't want to get into a collision in every race. Now, as much as I like Esteban's personality off track, his on-track one is like night and day. In Hungary 2021, Fernando defended like a lion against Lewis Hamilton, which allowed Ocon to secure his first win. Now, with his huge heart, to return the favor to Alonso, Esteban also defended like an absolute lion. But the difference is that he did that to Fernando himself. Like, just take a look at this clip. There is no way in hell you can convince a judge that this isn't attempted murder.
Back to when he was at... Oh dear, that was late.
Now, do you see that move right there? Death sentence for Ocon. But due to the rough pairing of Ocon and Alonso, as well as the multiple tough years that Alpine has had, Fernando decided to leave, and that was a blow to Alpine's performance. They lost a talented driver that can make a literal tractor go fast, and of course, all of Alonso's experience to help develop the car to the right direction. And to replace Fernando at Alpine, this brings us to another mess up, which is Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri over here ended up dropping an absolute bombshell of a tweet right after Alpine's Alpine's announcement of having him replace Fernando. And just to quickly summarize what his tweet said, it was pretty much, you guys, my favorite color is actually orange. So this ended up being an absolute PR disaster for Alpine, and not only did they get absolutely clowned, but they also lost a talented rookie at the same time. 2 if we're counting Alonso. But Alpine's f***ups do not stop there, okay? Not only did they mess up with their former drivers, but also with their current ones, Pierre and Esteban Ocon. These two clearly want to beat each other up, but since they can't do it in real life, they decide to do it in a race.
The relationship with Pierre, the disconnect, are you able to expand at all on it?
Not really. I think there's a lot of, personal reasons.
Now Alpine, I believe you guys have read a book called How to Succeed in F1. But just in case you want a quick recap of what the book says, it says make sure your drivers get along, which is clearly something you guys don't have since Ocon and Gasly are pretty much this in every race weekend.
Monsieur, où est la boulangerie?
A big factor that has led Alpine to fumble completely in 2024 is their car. I mean, no shit, you're gonna need a car to compete in the sport, or else Esteban and Pierre are gonna qualify looking like this. But essentially, Alpine's 2024 car has a lot of problems. One of them was pretty minor, but basically during the season break, every F1 team was getting ready to reveal their cars. And Alpine decided to tease their 2024 car a little bit through Instagram, hyping it up by showing an amazing pink camo design, which had every single Alpine fan looking like this.
Here we go.
So now you can picture just how disappointed I was when the car ended up being 90% black. But after Alpine unveiled their very disappointing 90% black car, I decided that, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and give Alpine the benefit of the doubt. Like, this is a Formula 1 team that consists of very highly educated engineers, designers, and mechanics. So of course, I thought, oh, the paint's reduction is definitely for a reason. I mean, just think about it for a second. Less paint means less weight, so that means the car will go unbearably fast. It might finally be the car that Alpine needs to finally compete in the top step. So I guess it's about time I finally gave this team the benefit of the doubt.
Out in the first part of qualifying, 2 Saubers, Bottas ahead of Joe, Logan Sargent, and 2 Alpines.
Yep. Never doing that again. But to make matters worse, the whole reason as to why I gave Alpine the benefit of the doubt is because when you develop a car, less paint means less weight, meaning that Alpine's decision to have a 90% black car can only mean that the car will go faster, right? Well, no, if the people developing your car are working for Alpine, because not only is the car blacker than the shits I take, but it's still 10 kilograms overweight. Alpine, you guys manufactured not 2 Formula 1 cars, but 2 episodes of My 600-Pound Life. And with that, Alpine is now in the toughest spot that it's ever been in. And how did they end up there? Well, here's a quick summary of every single screw-up. Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon cannot get along. They made a car so slow that it should probably race in F2 and would probably finish last anyway. They fired their team principal halfway into a season for mistakes that their drivers did. Fernando Alonso left the team and lost all hope for them to ever recover. They later announced that Oscar Piastri would be replacing Fernando, only to be completely clowned by the guy as he goes to McLaren. And finally, Alpine's board of directors are firing people every single time as if they're trying to wipe out an entire race like that one guy in 1945. And of course, let's not forget the part where their engine is literally 2 to 3 tenths down in terms of pace, and Alpine is the only team with a Renault engine. Alpine has truly fallen from grace and has pulled off one of the biggest flops in their lifetime. Bigger screw-ups than anything Ferrari can do, leaving many to say that it is truly over. However, they are also very much capable of pulling off one of the biggest redemption arcs in Formula 1 history, and all they need to do to turn themselves around is this. You want to fix team management? Just stop firing people every 10 seconds. As for the drivers, get people that actually can get along and drive properly without crashing into each other. Team principals? Stop switching them halfway through a season. You have a car that's so bad that everybody thinks Alpine is manufacturing tractors now? Well then hire better people. And finally, stop making brain-dead decisions. Despite Alpine's current dire situation, which is very similar to Ferrari completely destroying their proud legacy as a competitive team, Formula One still remains a sport where recovery is always possible. McLaren demonstrated this after an abysmal start in Bahrain, and for Alpine, despite how bad their situation is right now, there is always hope. To all of the loyal fans who still reminisce over Renault's past glory days, remember that they always have a chance to bounce back. To all of the fans and hardworking individuals at Alpine, formerly known as Renault, while the team may have a new identity, the legacy of its glory days must never be forgotten. So for all of you guys out there, let's just navigate through the difficulties and let's just hold on to the memories of yesterday and strive for a better future. Because as much as the team is named Alpine, the Renault days were quite something else. And you can't just say goodbye to yesterday.
I can't say goodbye.